Thanks for clicking on to Mac and Mac's college football program on the Grueling Truth Network. I'm Sean McCormick, and along with my son, Ryne, we're talking NCAA football. As usual, it's Week 8. It is upon us, and we'll be discussing this weekend's matchups, as well as pondering a few other college football items of note. Now, what would a college football talk occurring just past the midseason be without talking hot seat and coaches? It starts in South Bend, Indiana. Brian Kelly. Ryne, can he save his job?
I think that seat is absolutely flaming on fire right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it is one of the most difficult jobs in football. It's literally put up or shut up, win big, win now, every year, season in, season out. The Fighting Irish supporters cannot possibly be liking Kelly this season. Last week's loss to Stanford, just dismal. Playing a team without Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, 2-4 ain't going to cut it at many FBS schools, but under the Golden Dome, I can't see it happen. I can't see him sticking around unless he really does a complete turnaround this last half.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and especially with a great coach like Les Miles available, I would not be surprised to see his style fit well in South Bend.
Yeah, I mean, now here's one for you. I know you love the passing game, and you know how well that's what Brian Kelly talks about. He espouses he's a passing guru. A couple of weeks ago, and granted, it was monsoon-like with the hurricane and everything down at North Carolina State. Still, the Irish only managed 37 yards passing against the Wolfpack, and that's on 30 attempted passes. I know, like I said, it's a terrible day for football back then, but that's not going to matter come the end of the year to Notre Dame faithful. That offense really is sputtering, and it sputtered again in South Bend last week against Stanford.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the year they're not gonna look back at North Carolina State and say there were 65-mile-an-hour winds. That might be why they only ended up with just shy of 40 yards on the week. They're just going to look at the 37 yards and kind of raise some red flags.
Yeah, you did mention Les Miles. There's a guy. He's sitting out there. He has a 770 winning percentage. A couple other names, if you go across the media nationwide, they're talking about Oklahoma's Bob Stoops, also Houston's Tom Herman as possibles for replacing Kelly. I would think Herman would be more likely to move from his Cougars than Stoops would from the Sooners.
Oh, I would totally agree with that. I mean, Bob Stoops seems like he's pretty happy over there in Sooner country, and he's got a great program going. He does great things year in, year out. I can't see them not going after LSU's Les Miles, or I should say the ex-coach of LSU. I think he was wrongfully fired, I should say. But I really think that with a caliber quarterback or coach that you have there, and Kelly sputtering as he is, I can't see them not trying to reach out to Miles. Well, and it's still absolutely beyond me, and it's very, very hard to fathom as a college football fan of how you can get rid of somebody with a 770 winning percentage. And we talked about that a few weeks ago on the show with his firing and how he got a raw deal. It's just something that I cannot wrap my head around, and I can't fathom why that move was made.
Okay, we're going to move out west for our next hot seat discussion. The Oregon Ducks. They may be finding it is time to say bye-bye to Mark Helfrich. Now, Season 4 just is not being too kind to Helfrich. There is something that is a bit of a sticking point, and I looked it up here. The last time Oregon fired a football coach, actually, way back, 1976. That's when the athletic director there decided to play the gong show and bang that gong to ring out Don Reed. He's the third offensive, Helfrich, that is the third offensive coordinator in a row to be promoted to the Ducks head post. You can't help but see, because Oregon and its ties to the alums that's at Nike, Nike is throwing millions of dollars Oregon's way. And, you're getting money poured from an alum into that university. Those wins better start piling up again, and that's not happening out there.
No, and once the winning percentage goes down, that's when the sponsorships and the Nikes, they start to pull their items and their I think that all started when Chip Kelly was out there and actually had success, and they've really struggled to keep up with what Kelly did out there after he left.
Oh, and another thing that it's been a few years, and as I said, it's Helfrich's fourth year. So he's pretty much has all of his players that he's recruited. His staff has recruited it. So no more of Chip Kelly's leftovers, and he's getting a lot of flack from the fans because of that as well. They're trying to say that Helfrich just is not the recruiter that Kelly was.
Well, and I'm a firm believer in college football. You do have to give your coach 4 years. You have to give him the opportunity to get his freshmen to be seniors. And that's where he's at this year. And with a 2-4 record, that just does not cut it in college football, especially at a powerhouse like in Oregon.
Okay, now looking at some other hot seats possible, depending on where you're living, you're likely to see fire him signs for such coaching stalwarts. Gus Malzahn of Auburn actually is getting a little bit of flack. Todd Graham of Arizona State, and even Rich Rodriguez at Arizona. Also Paul Johnson, that triple option, that's the first thing that people are looking at, saying it's not spread, blah, blah, blah. Paul Johnson has said if you can run a better offense, fire me and do so. I mean, he's pretty much said that recently. So Georgia Tech, he's maybe headed for his second losing year in a row. Of all of those coaches, I would think Johnson may have the most to worry about.
Yeah, I would too. And an old school coach like Paul Johnson, he's going in every year saying this is what we're going to run. We're going to run the triple option. We're going to be good at it, and we're going to live and die by it.
I mean, when it's good, it's a thing of beauty. And as anyone who has coached a defense against that triple option, you just don't have the time to get prepared in college football for that. I mean, you just do not have that time, and 1 week of preparation can spell a disaster. I mean, I'll throw it back to Brian Kelly. He's always had trouble. Notre Dame has trouble with Navy year in, year out, and they're going to play them in a couple of weeks. And
well, I think it's something to do with an offense that you don't see very often.
Yeah, now I do have to mention, just coming from the Pittsburgh area originally, I got to mention something about Todd Graham. He couldn't win an election for dog catcher in the city of Pittsburgh after the way he played the Panthers faithful, saying this was his dream job and everything. Then he, a year later, he takes off to Arizona State. Well, now Mike Leach of Washington State is challenging, and I'll use the term that a few acquaintances of mine from a Berg-oriented Facebook page, the Neighborhood Sports Bar, they like to say not Todd Graham, but Fraud Graham. They're saying that, Leach is saying he's got issues with the way Graham's team, or I should say the coaching staff, steals signals from the sideline. So we're talking a little bit of Bill Belichick there. But Leach, on the other hand, you can't really – he's belly aching a couple weeks ago or last week about UCLA's defense calling out the offensive snap count. So you got to wonder if Leach actually has called up Belichick and getting pointers for stealing signals,
Yeah, you do. And you know what? I mean, it happens in all of sports. I mean, baseball, you're stealing signs. Football, you're trying to steal signs. You're trying to get any advantage you can. I think it's something that's just an unwritten rule. It's not talked about until it's, leaked out into the public.
I can understand it in baseball because baseball you have enough time to react. I just do not see, unless you have those signs beforehand, working them in practice, and you have a defense or an offense in tune enough that they pick that up and can immediately call an audible one way or the other. I just don't think I'm more of here. Hank Stram used to say, "Simplicity, here it comes, stop us," and I just can't see college football players having that much time again to study someone's signals and know what's going on like that. Now, the pros, that's a little different because that's all they're doing.
Yeah, well, I think it's too hard in football. I mean, you literally have 40 seconds in between each play to actually get the sign, relay it into them, and by that time, boom, they're up the sideline because you guessed the wrong play.
Okay, now, you are listening to Mac and Mac on the Grueling Truth Network. Okay, now on to Week 8. 3 of the noteworthy games come from Ryne's favorite conference, the exalted SEC, or at least for Ryne, it's exalted. Number 1, Alabama versus number 6, Texas A&M. 17th ranked Arkansas is taking on 21st ranked Auburn, and Gus Malzahn needs a win there pretty much. And 23rd ranked Ole Miss against number 25 LSU. Now, the other game we're going to be talking about, the Big 12 matchup between Oklahoma and Texas Tech. Should provide some really fun to watch television as well. You're not going to see too much running the ball, that's for sure. Let's do that Big 12 game first, Ryne. Oklahoma, number 16, going against 3-3 Texas Tech. We should actually add that Cliff Kingsbury is among some list of fires to come, as many have grown weary of his recent performance as the head coach there. He's facing critics by admitting there has to be changes in the team's performance to have a good season. This Oklahoma game is important because the Red Raiders have TCU, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Baylor all on the road. So when you're talking a bowl-eligible team, that could be a bit of a stretch. Getting back to the Oklahoma game with the Red Raiders, what do you think, Ryne?
Well, I'll tell you what, don't be looking for a low-scoring game, that's for sure. I mean, both teams are going to put up plenty of points. As Oklahoma's averaging 40 points a game, Texas Tech averaging 48 points a game, which is absolutely unbelievable with a 3-3 record.
Living up to the Big 12 mantra, we don't play defense.
Where the defensive coordinator's job is on the line every week. Oklahoma giving up 33 points a game average on defense. Texas Tech giving up 40. I mean, that 40 mark is just, wow.
Yeah, the Sooners are 14-point favorites. I've got Boomer Sooner going, say, 45-38.
I've got Oklahoma 52-31.
Well, you're going over the 50 mark with the Sooners, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, now to the Ryne Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the SEC, LSU Ole Miss. Bayou Tigers, touchdown favorites at home. This really should be a good mix of offense, competent defense. It should be a pretty good game to actually watch.
It's going to be a really good game. LSU's got a very, very stingy defense, only giving up 14 points a game, and I think a big reason that they're so effective on defense is they have the ball control offense. One of the only teams in the SEC that actually does run the ball control offense and not try to score 40 points a game. And I think that's why I'm so in love with the SEC, is because you see a lot of points scored week in and week out. I do think that the Rebels pull this one out and they get over the 14 points a game mark. I've got the Rebels in this one, 34-31.
Okay, I'm going the other way. I think that defense that you just talked about, giving up so few points, I think that they're not going to hold them to 14 points, obviously. I think Ole Miss is too powerful just on the offensive side. I've got LSU, but only 28-24. I think if LSU gets a defensive score, it's game over.
And you know what? I would not be surprised if defense would win a game, as Ole Miss's defense has kept them in games this year. Blowing a big lead against Alabama, blowing a big lead against Florida State. They just need to put 4 quarters together, and I think they have the game.
Yeah, if you could just play a single half of football, 2 quarters of football, Ole Miss would be right up there for the national championship.
They'd be vying for the national championship with the Tide.
But unfortunately for them, you do have to play 4 quarters. Thank you for listening to the Mac and Mac College Football Program right here on the Grueling Truth Network. Let's go to Arkansas and Auburn. To me, and you were talking about LSU with the ground game, to me this has more of a Big Ten flavor to it as well. Arkansas likes to run the ball. So does Auburn. 5-2 Razorbacks, 4-2 Tigers, 21st ranked Auburn coming off a bye week. That's going to be big. And that's kind of why I'm a bit confused as to why Arkansas, as much as a 10-point favorite in this game. You know, Gus Malzahn's not a stiff. He's going to have some things, wrinkles to his offense. And I know I'm looking forward because he's already run the spin back of the old single wing series before. I look for something like that to confound the Arkansas defense a bit. Is the question of being a 10-point favorite, is that because of Auburn's defense, though, Ryne?
I was absolutely astonished when I seen them at 10-point favorites. The line just doesn't match up. The only thing that I can think the odds makers are thinking is you're getting Auburn off a bye. Also, Auburn pretty much in a must-win situation. And that's why I do actually have Auburn winning, not covering, but winning 31-24.
Okay, I'm going the other way on here as well. I think Arkansas is going to be able to top the Tigers. It's going to be 31-28. I look for a hard-hitting game. I look for turnovers to make a big difference, as they normally do in these big games like this.
So we're in agreement that the winning team is going to have 31 points, huh?
That's the only way we're agreeing, bud, is 31. But I'm taking the Razorbacks.
Give me the Tigers.
Okay, now, you almost, this is like, I hate to say this because I don't like to give Nick Saban that smugness that he seems to have, but Alabama, Texas A&M, can anyone beat Bama?
I don't see anybody beating Bama this year. I see them rolling the table, especially when as of right now, you're going to have Nick Saban preparing at least 30 days, maybe 35 days to play in the national championship game, and it's just way too long. I don't see anybody beating Alabama. They are so solid on defense, special teams, offense, all three phases of the game, and they get it done week in and week out. I am surprised, however, this week to see Alabama as 19-point favorites.
That doesn't surprise me. You know, there are actually some people, especially in the Tampa Bay area, that are saying that Alabama might be able to beat the Buccaneers. I don't think that happens.
I've heard that before about, Ohio State could beat the Browns and Alabama could beat the Buccaneers. They all still are NFL talent. They are not collegiate talent. And NFL teams, I think it's a silly comparison when people say that.
Well, I was doing that in jest, and all you have to do is look how well Nick Saban did in the NFL with NFL caliber talent. Enough said there. I won't even mention the fact he stepped over an injured Dolphin the one time just to get back in his office. Now, if you've heard of anything, witnesses that watched it, Nick Saban talking about A&M, you'd think he was channeling Lou Holtz. And he's so concerned about the Aggies' defense. He's concerned about the run game of A&M. Boy, that's stretching it really a bit. I can't see Alabama. In fact, I'm going big time here. I'm going Bama at 48-14. I think they just shut down A&M.
And me, I'm a big Alabama supporter, not so much a fan. I like what Nick Saban does. I respect what he does. I just think the 19-point spread is absolutely absurd with A&M coming off a bye week. You got dual threat in the quarterback of Trevor Knight. I look for this to be a very, very close one. I'm going Bama 41-35.
Say that again, 41-35 or 41-45?
41-35.
Oh, 41-35. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know. There's something, usually the pundits who set the odds makers, they know something's up, and when they give out a 19-point span, it's hard to overlook that.
Well, and you get teams, you get your Notre Dames, you get your big fan hopefuls, big fan base teams, Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, and I think Vegas inflates the odds for those kind of bettors.
Well, and what you do is you get the average bettor who says, "Oh man, 19 points. I'm gonna go the other way on that one." So I mean, sometimes the Bears are going to bite you. Sometimes you're going to bite the bear. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and that's pretty much in all of football itself.
Okay, well, Thanks for joining us again, Ryne. It's going to wrap up this edition of Mac and Mac's College Football Program right here on the Grueling Truth Network. Thanks for listening. Click us on next week.